Vanity Fair had an article about AOC, and I'm not familiar with the writer Abigail Tracy. I'm going to assume that she is operating in good faith here. You will have to make that determination yourself. But the article is, this beacon of hope is being corrupted by the system, the battle for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's progressive soul. And what this article is her talking with almost universally anonymous aides and activists, all identified as progressives, saying that AOC has been consumed by the system. She's been eaten up, and you know what happens after that biologically. And she's not the person that you thought she was. And I'm not happy with this article because I think it's kind of insane, but I wanna read a couple different sections of it and we will evaluate together whether there's any actual merit to this. So one section here, sort of in defense of AOC, says, even AOC's harshest critics can't deny her influence in national conversations about climate change and healthcare. The Green New Deal, her aspirational environmental policy platform, has emerged as a key 2020 issue. Criticism of her involvement notwithstanding, there are few politicians who have played as critical a role in injecting Medicare for all into the political mainstream. Trent also pointed to the Loan Shark Prevention Act, which Ocasio-Cortez introduced with Senator Bernie Sanders. For now, these bold policy ideas are just that, ideas. But eventually the rubber will meet the road, and Ocasio-Cortez will have to show that her platform can change more than mere sentiment. So first of all, I love how casually her ability to shift climate change from a middling issue, even amongst Democratic primary voters, to one of the top issues in this primary, that is changing mere sentiment, which, like, in politics, sentiment is what we're trying to change. We're trying to change voters' minds, we're trying to change politicians' minds. But if you call it mere sentiment, then you can cast it to the side. And the fact that she's doing this as not only a new congresswoman, not only a first-term congresswoman, but in literally the first it was really just the first couple months. She hadn't even been sworn in when climate change, through her efforts, shot to national attention and national coverage. But that is a small thing. She's been corrupted. You can forget about that now. Let's see, we have an anonymous progressive aide quoted as saying, there was not only an expectation, but an understanding that when she came here, she would do everything in her power to elect more politicians who shared her views, and not letting the bare minimum of being on the blue team be enough to win her approval. And since she's gotten here, it's been a huge just night and day in terms of how she's prioritized who to fight for. So understand that that quote is in the context of an article saying she hasn't been endorsing anyone yet. Okay, there's a couple of reasons for that. I know, understand, I don't have any secret conversations with AOC. I'm not a part of her campaign team, but I would say one of the reasons she hasn't endorsed a lot of people yet is we're like 1 month into the next season yet. We still don't know who's gonna be running in most of these races. The Justice Democrats, who they say she has not embraced their candidates enough yet, they've only announced one target, literally one primary candidacy that they're going to be backing yet. Now there will be others, but since they don't exist, it's difficult for AOC to actually side with anyone yet. Okay, she hasn't made an endorsement in the presidential campaign yet, but she's made pretty clear who she supports and who she doesn't, and she will in the end up supporting someone. I have a feeling it will be one of the progressive choices. And so it seems like such a shallow, such a cheap shot at her that she hasn't endorsed people who in the vast majority of cases are not even involved in their contests yet. So they go into that. What's interesting, and I think this is really important to focus on, because again, I don't know, is it Tracy, Abigail Tracy? I don't know this person. Quoting anonymous sources in an article like this is a thing that is done. I'm not gonna get down on her for that. They do it all the time, and I understand why you would have to do that. You want an insider's perspective. They're not gonna go on the record, probably because they're really scared of her and what her social media following might do to them. But we have to be able to evaluate when they are quoted as a high-ranking progressive aide or progressive activist. Are they? Are they actually someone who's worked closely with AOC, who actually understands her psychology, who understands her strategy? I don't know because they're anonymous, and I have to have faith that Abigail Tracy is being honest in identifying them as high-ranking people whose opinion actually counts. And it's a little bit hard to do that when I believe that the criticisms are absurd or certainly premature. The idea that one of the hardest working congressmen in Congress, who has done more than anyone else individually to shift the national conversation on literally the largest issues facing not only the American political system, but our civilization, has been corrupted by the system already in like 4 months. I think I'm gonna require a little bit more authenticity than a few anonymous aides. And what's interesting, and I think this is worth noting, the only person who would go on the record is Sean McElwee, progressive activist, who said this: I think there's a lot of backseat quarterbacking, but I don't think there's really any coherent criticism you could make of AOC at the current moment in terms of Congress. So the only person who would go on record supports her and thinks that this sort of narrative is far premature. Now again, I don't know. I don't know the author, I don't know the aides, I don't have a close working relationship with AOC. It's possible that she has been fully corrupted, or it's possible that this is one of two things. This is either the progressive thing where we are so naturally suspicious of literally everyone in politics that we look to take down our heroes as quickly as possible, some because of natural suspicion, some because of an ideological predilection, some to make money off of it, or it could be that taking her down is kind of helpful for the centrists in Congress, that Nancy Pelosi kind of wants you to be second guessing AOC and others around her, and that this sort of article plays to that. Again, I don't know the author, I don't know what their objective here is, but this sort of narrative needs to be questioned, and we need people on the record. If they believe that she has been eaten up by the system, then they should come out and be clear about why that is and why we should mistrust her. At present, we've got no evidence of that. Here on the Damage Report, we talk a lot about the big banks and their ways of getting rich off the poor. They saturate the market, but there are other options. And I've got info on a socially and environmentally responsible financial institution that has no ATM fees, gives you cash back on every purchase. They even commit 10% of their earnings to charity. It's called Aspiration, and if you go to aspiration.com/TYT to sign up, you'll get these perks, and that's more money to spend or to save or to spend. Just treat yourself.